just to remind you, our theme today is Church Without Walls. And we don't have to go again into what that is. A church that doesn't discriminate, a church that doesn't have ableism, a church that value people, and so on and so forth. See people as God see them. This afternoon we have a lady that Dawn will introduce, who is going to speak to us from the National Health Service on dementia. Now, since COVID especially, a lot of people is realizing that my memory is not so sharp. We have women with menopause and so on, and then we have people going up in age, that the memory. So memory lost, it can affect each and every one of us. So for the young people, you might have a grandmother or even your mother later on, so it's good for you to know something about it. So please do not leave and just give us your undivided attention. Let us just pray to start. Father in heaven, thank you so very much for being with us throughout the day. Thank you that you, Lord, promised that you'll never leave us and you'll never forsake us. And at this time, Lord, I pray that the presence of your Holy Spirit may continue to abide with us. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Dawn?
You want to sit at the front? Sit right at the front there, right there, on the right. Right there. All right. Good. Yeah. Until she comes for her. Good afternoon, everyone. I might not appear to be excited, but I am excited. And it's not because I don't very often get the opportunity to introduce anybody. It's because I'm introducing a friend of 35 years. So this lady is Roxanne. Roxanne has had a long career in nursing. She's been a specialist for palliative care. Currently, she is the trust lead on dementia. So Roxanne is an Admiral Nurse with a specialism in dementia, and she is a manager, and she has asked to come and spend some time with us. So can we give her our undivided attention, please? Thank you. Over to Roxanne.
Oh, here it is. Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for that. Thank you for that introduction, Dawn. So as Dawn said, my name is Roxanne. And yes, I have lots of experience in palliative care, but today specifically I'm talking about dementia. And that's because thank you. That's because there is definitely a rise in the diagnosis of dementia. Just checking in, has anybody in the room has had or known someone who's had dementia or died from dementia? Okay. So I think it's really important that I start with that because the presentation may trigger something, might make you sad, and obviously my condolences, but I think it's really important as a people that we have a conversation. The more we know, the more information we have, that makes us able to deal with stuff quickly and possibly have a different outcome. So that's why hopefully I could do that today. I'm like the worst person with technology. Putting it on would be a good start, right? And where do I need to press? This one, yeah? Okay. Okay, first I'm going to start with this picture. Now it's a perception picture, and I hope you could see it. Now in this picture, can you have a look and tell me how many ladies do you see in this picture? Oh yes, how much? You see 2, brilliant. Who else? Who sees 3? Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh, good crowd. Who can see 4? No? The 4th one is a little bit tricky. So there's 4 ladies in this picture. You can see the big picture. Can you see it? Yeah. So the big picture, that's really good because only 2% of the population can see all 4 ladies. So if you can see it really quickly, that's good. So the big picture, there's a lady. Yeah? That's 1. Then you see the small lady, that's like she's holding a phone. Then if you look along the side of her hand, there is a lady looking that way. And then if you look at the lady that's looking that way and holding the phone, there's a lady in that picture in her hand. Yeah? Yeah, I think it was far away, but so you did pretty well. I normally start with this because it's about perception, just to say that we all see different things at different times. I know it always gets people talking, so I don't mind, yeah. I think this is about just to say that it's perception. We all see different things at different times, and sometimes we need people to help us to see different things. That's just about it. Now we've got this picture here. You've got 4 people in the picture. From where you're sitting at the minute and your knowledge of dementia, which one of the people in this picture would you say could have a dementia diagnosis? Who said anyone? Yes, yes, spot on. Who said anyone? 5 stars. And that is true. Any one of them can have a dementia diagnosis. But in this picture, the person with the diagnosis is the child. She's got a very rare form of Alzheimer's, which is called Neuropic disease. And the prognosis is quite poor. She probably wouldn't live beyond 10 years. Yeah, there's no cure. So again, that leads on to perception. We believe that dementia is elderly, older people, older population. I'm here to kind of challenge that perception and said anyone. In the picture, we also had a young gentleman. We also have what we call young onset dementia. That is people getting dementia now in their 30s and in their 40s. Yeah? So just to be mindful that it is anybody can have dementia. We've got 2 pictures here. You've got 2 well-known faces. I don't know if you remember the gentleman. Anybody know who he is? Robin Williams. And we have Margaret Thatcher. What they both have in common is that they both had dementia. Yeah? So Robin Williams, he had a form of dementia that was called Lewy body disease. He didn't die of it. He committed suicide. And that's because it was very difficult for him. He realized that he was slipping away cognitively, and that was really difficult. But in the post-mortem, when they checked his brain, they realized he'd had Lewy body. And Margaret Thatcher, she had Alzheimer's. So she spent the last year of her life not really remembering anything because she'd lost her cognitive function. Yeah. So Admiral Nurse, I started saying I'm an Admiral Nurse. What does that mean? This gentleman in the picture, he is a gentleman by the called Mr. Levy. This gentleman who loved sailing, and so he was an admiral. He had dementia, and his daughters, after the diagnosis, felt there was not a lot of support for him. So after he died, they came up and had a charity called Dementia UK. And Dementia UK is the one that put up funding for Admiral nurses, so a post like me. You have Admiral nurses in the community, and now you have them in hospital. I'm based in hospital. So I base between King George Hospital and Queen's Hospital, which is your local hospital. And what we do, so an Admiral Nurse, the specific role of an Admiral Nurse is to support the carer. And that's because, and you have people in the audience would know, the carer is the one that needs that support. Because it's really, there's a lot going on. You take a very long time for diagnosis. By the time you've got diagnosis, you're the one that's doing the carer. You're an unpaid carer. So that's why there is a role to support the carer. Yeah, so that's a little bit about Dementia UK. So dementia then. What is dementia? So dementia is an umbrella term that describes various symptoms. So those symptoms are, you have cognitive dysfunction, which is one of the main ones, and who you are in the sense that you forget. We all forget, so sometimes I go upstairs, I forget my glasses, come back down. Not that kind of being forgetful. So you're forgetting something like 10 or 20 years of your life. You have no memory of it, and it will not come back. So that is dementia, and it's a collection of the symptoms. That's what's called dementia. You have different types of dementia. Dementia, there is no cure. So the medication you'll be on would be to manage the symptoms, because there's no cure. So that's the umbrella term. You have over 200 types of dementia. I mentioned one to you before, Nieuport disease, but you've got Alzheimer's, which might be the one most of us may know in the room. Alzheimer's, you have Lewy body, dementia. Parkinson's is a form of dementia as well. Yeah. What do we know? The scale and the challenge of dementia is we have about 850,000 people living with dementia in the UK. That figure is probably more, because this is probably this slide's probably 2 years old. And we do know by 2050 we would have another 2 million. And this is just within the UK. So how is dementia diagnosed? So dementia is diagnosed in various ways. So you initially, if you believe that there is something in particular with that forgetfulness, it's about seeing your GP. The GP has to make the referral to the memory clinic, and then you would have a lot of tests. You get neurological tests, you get bloods, so they take bloods, they do a brain scan, and they do memory tests. And that's why it takes a long time, because what they do is they check your memory over a period of time. So it's not a diagnosis that you can make over a short space of time. So probably about 18 months to 2 years for you to get a definite diagnosis. But in that time, the carer, the family, is actually going through that process with no diagnosis. Yeah. Treating dementia, there's lots. Talk about medication. So as I said, the medication is to manage the symptoms. Life changes can help in that sense, supporting the person with dementia as well as the carer, therapies, counseling as well, and just having your vision checked. So vision and your hearing as well. Sometimes a lot of people have hearing problems, but they don't go and check it out. So it's really important, if you have visual difficulties or hearing problems, you go and you check it out. Yeah. Preventing, which is normally the question people ask me: how do we prevent dementia? Complex. There is evidence to suggest that it is hereditary. So if you have someone within your family, there is a possibility. But mainly it's about looking at your diet, what you eat. We always talk about diet. If you're specifically suffering from high blood pressure, which obviously we all just people high blood pressure, diabetes, you have a possibility that you can have dementia. So it's really important, if you have these things, to make sure that it's managed, yeah, so that you don't get to that particular point of having dementia. Sleep. I mean, ideally we should all get about 8 hours sleep per night, and I doubt we do that, but sleep is really important. So thinking about sleeping, thinking about managing stress, everything in relation to life sometimes is difficult, but how do you manage stress? It's about also smoking, not smoking, and alcohol, so being mindful of those things. So this is our Admiral Nurse Dementia Helpline. So Dementia UK has a helpline for carers who they can call in and ask for advice if they have a diagnosis or if they're still going through the process of having a diagnosis, dementia. So about the hospital that I work in, so this is Bath, you've got King George Hospital, Queen's Hospital. So King George Hospital, we have a little over 500 beds. Queen's Hospital, we have probably about 1,000 beds. And what we do know is that 25% of our beds will be occupied with someone with a dementia diagnosis. So that is 1 in 4 beds. So that's, yes, so it's a lot. And that's because someone with dementia is not going to come into hospital with for the dementia, but they're going to come into hospital with the dementia. So the same things that happen to all of us will happen to them. Chest infection, any sort of infection, might have a fall. But they're coming to hospital already compromised because of the dementia. So what we have in hospital, which you may or may not think is important that you know in case you advise someone, I think I went too far and I can't go back. Yeah, so if someone with a diagnosis of dementia come into hospital, what we do is we put a blue wristband, which you see in the picture there. And that blue wristband is so that every staff within the hospital will be aware that this person has a dementia diagnosis. Above their bed of their board bed, we put a blue butterfly again, so that who's around will be aware. We also encourage the relatives to complete a "This Is Me." I don't know if people in the room who had loved ones with dementia, if you ever completed the "This Is Me." So this is really important, and you walk with this. This is like your passport. So whenever you come into hospital, you bring it in with you. We take a copy of it. And that's just to tell us about specific things about the person with dementia. So one main question is, how would we know if this person is in pain? We do know someone with dementia is not going to be able to tell us they're in pain. So we need to know from the carer what it is we should be looking for. So that's one of the main reasons why we fill this out, and this sits on the board. We have this reacher screen, so it's a computer on wheels, and they have different activities as well. Being in hospital is already challenging. So for somebody with dementia, being in hospital is double that, because they have no idea where they are, and that in itself causes a lot of stress. What we do have, we have something called, it's called a twiddle muff. So what we do is, if someone with dementia comes into hospital and you have to put a cannula is the needles that you put in your hand for medication. What happens is they normally want to take the cannula out. So we put this over the cannula, and then they can twiddle with this. So they can fiddle with this rather than take out the cannula, because they will forget. What happens is you put the cannula in and someone's saying to them, oh, you need it in because you need to have medication. They're not going to remember that. So we advise the staff to put this over them. We get a lot of it knitted, so people in the community knit it for us, and we get it donated. And what we do is we give to the wards. So the wards will have, emergency department would have, and we encourage them to use it. I think that was it. Here it comes again. So what we have as well is we have red tray and red jug cover. That is for someone who's got dementia diagnosis. Again, it's for the staff to know. You need to offer them drinks, and you have to be sure that someone has fed them. Because research shows somebody who come into hospital with dementia is dehydrated, and they're not offered food. Because what's happened is you've left the food. You will come around and ask, have you eaten? The person with dementia would say, yes, I have, because they think they have, and then you will take the food away, and no one's offered them anything after that. So it's really important for us in hospitals that staff is aware of that, so you be very mindful when you see a red tray. We have something called John's campaign, and that is if the carer comes into hospital, they can stay beyond the visiting time, and they should be offered meals in the hospital, because ideally they will stay longer, and particularly parking concession, because it's very expensive to park in the hospitals. So that as well. Any questions? They don't recognize what pain is. They don't recognize what pain is in someone who's got dementia, because if you've got dementia, you cannot say you're in pain. So you're going to express pain in a different way. I met a gentleman on the ward, and every time he was in pain, he would smile. So the staff, everybody's walking around thinking, oh, he's fine. There's no need to do it, but he was actually in pain. And the only reason we knew that is because his carer said, no, 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 when he's smiling, he's distressed. And that's because he probably had Lewy body dementia, where your whole behavior is frontal temporal dementia. So the frontal part of your brain deals with all your emotions. So his emotions, what's sad, he's happy. If he's happy, he's sad. So unless we know that, we're not going to be able to identify. Again, they might be fidgeting, agitated, wanted to get up, and what the staff do is they say, please sit down, but not addressing why they're agitated, why you're getting up. Because what we know, someone with dementia normally knows what they want, they just can't figure out what the word is. Yeah, so they know the feeling, they just can't match the fact. So I know I want something, but I don't know what it is. So I don't know if it's water, because I've forgotten that. I don't know if I want to use the toilet, but I know I want something. And for us, I say to the staff, it's our job to figure out what that is, because they're already compromised in hospital. Any other questions? What causes it? Well, as I said, it's lots of things. Dave said some is hereditary. Some is depending on if you're diabetic. So if you're diabetic, it could affect your cognitive function. They said if you're not, we talk a lot about brain health. So that is doing stuff like puzzles and being active within yourself, exercise. So it's a combination of those things.
What are the symptoms of dementia?
So the symptoms, really good question. So I talked about cognitive decline. So that means you've forgotten significant things in your life. So this is not just about, as I said before, forgetting where your pen is or your glasses is. It's forgetting. I had a patient one, he said he just went out and he had no idea where he lived. He'd lived there for 50 years and he had no idea how to get home. He said it just completely left him. He didn't know what to do. Or as well as you find people are forgetting you, forgetting their loved ones. So you've forgotten your daughter, you've forgotten your son. You remember them when they're young, but you don't remember them as they're older. So you're saying, I don't know who you are. And they say, but yeah, it's me. No, I don't know. So we advise families then to make sure you have two pictures, one of when you were young and one of where you are now. And you can say, yes, mom or dad, this is me, but this is also me. Because they forget.
When we go there, I remember he said, I'm just coming back from Jamaica and I just go
Yes.
and feed the cows.
Yes.
You know, so he go back
Yes.
in the days when he usually
Yes,
do that.
yes, yeah. Because what they've said, dementia is interesting, because what dementia does, it comes along, you've got, we talk about the bookcase, so let's imagine you've got two bookcases. You've got one bookcase that has your facts of who you are, one bookcase have your emotion. Your emotional bookcase is a little bit stronger than your factual bookcase. What happens is dementia comes along and it rocks the bookcase. What happens is the factual bookcase that's not particularly strong, all the books fall. So if you think about where I am when I'm a teenager, I'm probably here as I go up. So here's in my 20s, this is in my 30s, this is in my 50s. So if you rock a bookcase, the books on the top will fall first. which means I'm not going to remember the things. I remember the things when I'm younger, and that's what we see. So the memory is very much about, you know, dementia patients say things like exactly what you said. I had one in ED, emergency department, and he was in there, and he said, oh my God, I'm going to get into so much trouble. I was like, why? He said, because, do you know, my mom said I shouldn't go there, and I fell and I broke my hand, and she's coming in a minute, and she's going to tell me off. And the memory was so real. Because it did happen. So when his wife came, she said, no, yes, it did happen, and the mom did tell him off. But that memory is real. And I think it's just to emphasize they're not making it up. It's real. It did happen. They just can't remember when it's happened. They think it's happened today when it's happened. Sorry? Yes, I agree.
I'm saying a lot of people is not educated about dementia. I went back home and my mom had dementia before she died. And she complained to me, oh, I haven't eaten since morning. My sister was crying. She said, sis, I just feed her. But because they're not educated about it, they become frustrated.
Yeah.
That she's telling lie, but they don't know.
Yes, and that's very true. And I think that's why it's important for me, and that's why, you know, I'm thankful that Donna to educate. That's what it's about. If you understand something, you can deal with it. Whatever is gonna come is coming anyway. To me, if I have enough knowledge, then that puts me in a different position as if I don't have any knowledge. So it's really important that you understand that. And also understanding, once a dementia person has lost capacity, they're no longer able to make decisions, which means you as a carer need to have power of attorney for health and finance. I'm going to push that, because if you don't, then a healthcare professional like myself is going to tell you what we think is best for your loved one. Why is that? No, you need to have, because if you have power of attorney of health and finance, I'm labeling the point, because if you have it, then it's the patient's voice. I can't come and tell you anything. You can say, I'm sorry, Roxanne, that's not what we would want. So it's really important. So those things comes along with us doing our wills. So how much of us have a will in the room, completed our will? Do you know, I push, it's really important. You have your will, you have conversations with your loved one saying what you want, because someone like me is gonna make that decision based on things that we don't know. Sorry, you wanted. Okay.
I want to thank you for this presentation. It's really very important. And you hinted about diet, but I was requesting if you can expand a little bit on that diet that can delay or stop or prevent dementia, and that diet that can hasten it or promote it, please.
Well, I think what we do is we talk about vegetables. You know, vegetable, less fatty foods. I think we have two types of food. You have acidic food and you have alkaline foods. Alkaline foods tend to be more of your vegetables. Acidic food tends to be more foods that are fatty foods. Really try and avoid preserved foods. I know that that's the foods you buy and you stick in your microwave. I know they're easy, but if you can prevent it, that would be great. If you cook your own food, think about the oil you're using. Do not reuse oil. We do, and those little things, as a people, we say, well, okay, why does these things happen to us? Why do we get high blood pressure? Why do we get diabetes? It's because of little things we do. Do not, if anything you take away, do not reuse oil. And particularly use olive oil. Yeah, extra virgin olive oil. So those little things I think is really important. Much more vegetables than you would have in your meats as well. Yeah. Fish oil, yes. Yes, fish oil. Yeah, fish oil is good. So your salmons and your mackerels and those natural fish oils is particularly good. Yeah, okay. Sweeteners, yeah. I mean, I think they push sweeteners so that you have drinks now, like your Coca-Colas and your 7-Up that says zero sugars, but that's because they put sweeteners. To me, it's best you have the sugar, because sweeteners is actually worse than the sugar. But they sell it. They sell it to us because they think because obviously we know now people are much more smart. So what they do, they advertise and they sell it to us like they're giving us this thing. It's okay, you can have it because it doesn't have any sugar in it. But it has those sorts of, sucrose. That's worse than if it's better. There's a little bit of, but if you have to use sugar, brown sugar is the best sugar. Because anything that isn't brown, it means it's refined. That's why vegetable oil and those oils you have to think in relation to olive oils. Anything that's lighter is refined. And yes, the thing that is darker is much more natural, less refined. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. How?
Sorry? Agave. Oh, I don't. All right. Okay. Mm-hmm. I know honey is good. Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Yes, I'm just wondering, how does a blood test help with the diagnosis?
So what they're looking for in your blood test is lipids from your brain. Because your brain has a particular amount of lipids. So what they do is they test the blood over a period of time and then check for the lipids. And then they would know if it's abnormal or not. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the thing, and you hit the nail. You can have anything but in moderation. I think sometimes what we do is we get to the point where we say, right, no, we're not going to have any of this, or we're not going to have any of that. But if we do everything little and often and moderation, then I think we have a better outcome. So yes, everything in moderation. I think that lady just...
Is brain fog, would it be considered as onset of early dementia?
What?
Brain fog.
I mean, I think it's something for you to watch and have a think. It depends on what, to me, it's more about cognitive decline than brain fog. So, but I think if you're having a lot of brain fog, I think it's not a bad idea of watching it and then maybe asking and checking and going to your GP. And a lot of things they say when you go to your GP and you're sure about these things, we need to be challenging our GPs. Because sometimes we go to our GPs and they fob us off. You have to challenge your GP. Yeah? Yeah.
I think it is very
Yes, in a minute.
true.
I've got you. Sorry. And you? Because it just shows that it doesn't matter. Because you're right. But I think somebody said it. Did you say stress? I talked about stress. Could you imagine being the prime minister of a country, that level of stress? Stress is one of the main things we don't talk about. We talk about all the other things, but stress causes fight or flight. And if your body's constantly in fight or flight, what happens is you have adrenaline. Fight or flight is a natural thing. The idea is you're put in a position, your body is either going to fight or run, flight, that's it. But if you do none of those things, you still have adrenaline in your body doing nothing. And what is adrenaline? Adrenaline is a steroid. So if you think about it, you're living, naturally your body now is living in a state of steroids, really. But you don't look at it that way. If we're doing that for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, it is going to affect our bodies, without a doubt. There's a little girl there and this gentleman. Yes?
Hello. I got a mic.
Okay. And then this little girl and then this gentleman. Yes.
Yeah, what I'm saying is it is so true. What you say is very, very true. I know someone that is suffering with dementia, but he's suffering with different kind of maladies. He got prostate cancer, he got diabetes, he got another disease, he got sugar, you name it. And then this guy used to move about back and forth. But all of a sudden, because he couldn't walk anymore, he couldn't move. So he's just lying on a chair, 24/7. If you don't lift him up or take him to the commode or take him to put him to sit down, he can't do nothing at all. So that caused him to become dementia, because he has become forgetful, saying and things, because he's telling you. When you say to him, "Where are you now?" He said, "I'm not in London, I'm in the Caribbean."
Yeah.
So every time you talk to him, you're asking, "Oh, I'm not in London, I'm in the Caribbean. I'm in so and so place in whatever." But he don't really know exactly what he is.
Well, yes, all those, what we call them is comorbidities. So he had all the things I've just talked about: diabetes, high blood pressure, all those things contributes, because it is about your brain losing those, your brain's actually dying, really. That's what that, it's like if you have a stroke and you've affected one part of your brain, that's how you get vascular dementia. It's because you've had a stroke. And we all know that once those cells within your brain has died, that's it. You've only get one lot of them. They don't grow back.
He also had a minor stroke as well.
So you see, he had a stroke. So I think he probably had vascular dementia. Yeah. Who? I think this.
When a baby has dementia, do they remember to walk?
Oh, it's a good question. When I talked about a little girl that had new-pick, well, one of the symptoms for her is that she had delay walking. She wasn't walking in the time that she should have, so that's when the family took her and they knew that something wasn't right. So yes, no, everything will be delayed. Yeah? It's a very good question.
Right, thank you. You also talked about 25% of the beds for dementia patients. So I was just wondering, what is the primary nursing attention you give to a dementia patient?
So that's 25% of the acute beds in the hospital, yeah? So that would be whatever attention you more or less give to patients that come in. So my role is to go on those wards and make sure that the person with dementia is seen, the carer has got a voice, and the medical team is working with the carer. That is my role. So I walk the floors, people know me now, and I tell people off as if it's not happening, it needs to happen. So that's why it's two of us, and we take it very, very seriously. We're in an emergency department, so someone with dementia comes into hospital, they'll ring us, we go to the emergency department, and we meet the family, we reassure them, and then we follow the patient onto the ward. So and there was a lot of people. I mean, the last quarter, we saw over 1,000 patients that came into hospital with dementia. And it is just 3 of us. So we do walk the floors. But But that's why the role is about education. We have to educate the staff. So any new member of staff comes into the trust, we're part of the orientation, we're part of the session to talk to them about dementia. Because we have to, because it's real life. They will come into hospital. That's not just our hospital, but any acute hospital. Yeah.
Thank you for your presentation.
One more.
Yeah. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, why is it that, what's the research suggesting about why there is going to be such a real rapid rise in dementia over the next forthcoming years?
I mean, I think it's going to have a rise because, one, we're aware of it now, so we're shining the light. Sometimes if you haven't shined a light on something, people don't see it, but now the light's been shined, and I think we have more and more people that have those comorbidities. We have more people who's got hypertension. We have more people that are being diabetics. And I think I think if you put a combination, and I think if we're honest, I think we really don't know what foods we're eating. We don't know what we're being sold, really. And I think it's something that we have to be mindful of. And we talk about preservatives and we talk about, all the things that we buy, even our vegetables and stuff, which is great. But these vegetables are coming out huge in a short space of time. Why is that? We know what length of time these things take to grow. Another thing is salmon. So you have salmon, and people love salmon, great. But if you look salmon, you get salmon from farm salmon now. You don't get salmon from the Atlantic anymore. And farm salmon, so when you buy your salmon, you need to look in the back of the thing and find out whether it's Atlantic salmon or whether it's farm salmon. You will know the difference. Farm salmon is very oily. From the time you put it, when you put salmon should actually fry on its own without you even having to have oil. But a farm salmon, because if you think you're farming it, it means you're putting these fish in this area and you're controlling what they eat. And sometimes the fishes may die. Nobody takes the dead fish out of it. So they eat the dead. We don't know what we're eating, people. But Atlantic salmon is significantly, more expensive. So we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't. But it's more expensive. So from now, I'm giving you all homework. When you go to buy your salmon, look in the back, and you would realize that majority of salmon is farm salmon. Very few places. So only places like Marks and Spencer's, you would get Atlantic. All these. But the frozen is, or sometimes it's also farmed. Because a lot of stuff is farmed, even the okay, great. So once it says that, even our chickens, our meats, there's a lot written about chickens, these caged chickens. And if a chicken die within there, no one's taking that one out. I mean, majority are probably vegetarians, but you're not taking the dead ones out. You're leaving it in there. We don't know what we're eating. So, yes.
Is it a rare thing? Because
yes,
it's rare.
It's hereditary.
I thought as much, but
the baby's
why
hereditary.
would a child have that as a baby? Does it cause from something?
Yeah, it's hereditary. So which means in the development of the embryo, something in relation to when the brain was being developed didn't develop very well. So that particular one is hereditary. And you find if someone has young onset dementia, it's probably hereditary. Someone in their family probably have it. But in saying that, now we're getting more and more diagnosis of stuff where there's nothing, no history, and that's why I think it's our diet. I really think it's what we eat, it's the air we breathe, it's a combination. Yeah. Sorry. No question is strange. Use my mic.
Yes. Have you ever encountered a pregnant, demented patient? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Because I wanted to know how you would deal.
Yeah, I haven't. No. Oh my gosh, no, I haven't. But if I'm telling you about young onset, you're right. It's possible, isn't it? But I haven't seen it yet. Yeah, that would be a tricky one. Yeah.
I've been working on a dementia unit.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, it's not a nice unit to work on.
Yes.
Because some of the residents, they fight against each other.
Yes.
And some things that they get on with, even we, the staff, sometimes we have
Yes.
to be very careful.
Yes.
Angling them.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's not a nice ward.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm telling you, some of them is really bad.
Yeah.
The type of dementia they have got.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
challenging.
It
you
is
know?
very challenging.
Very
yeah.
much
yeah.
so.
But I mean, I think what I say to the staff, what I say to the ward staffs, and I'll say to any nursing home staff, I think if you go a nursing home and you have dementia patients or people with dementia, we normally call it people with dementia, you have to invest in the nursing home because it is challenging. I'm not going to stand here and say to you it isn't. But what we do know, before a dementia patient becomes challenging, you've missed all the signs. They would have told you something is happening, but you haven't picked it up quick enough, and now you've got a behavior which is difficult to manage. We also know dementia patients get more agitated as it comes to night. It's called sundowning. When the sun comes down, they get more agitated. And we know that if you're sick, you have just the flu, you feel worse in the night. You're okay in the day. From the minute 6 o'clock come, you're like, oh my God, my nose. Yeah, it's just one of those things. So I think what happens is the nursing homes, they take the money, they take the funding, but they do not invest in the care. And what they do, they take John Public off the street. They put you in a position, right, can you carry on? No, you need training. As I stand here, you need to understand, you need to support, you need to know they're not doing it because I see it on the ward staff say, oh, you know, they've done. I have to say, no, they're not just doing this because they're wicked or whatever. They're just doing it because they don't understand, yeah? So.
In this country, you have the ratio of dementia. You said it's rising. It's quite high. Why is it that it's much higher in this country than, or I don't know if it's European countries, or rather than in like the West Indies, people who are from the West Indies? Why do you think that this is occult?
I mean, I don't know if it's higher. I think what we do here is that we count. So we give you a figure. I think places like the Caribbean sometimes don't give you a figure. And what we do, because we don't know, we label people as difficult, or we haven't given them a diagnosis. I'm sure there's people with dementia, but you haven't, because dementia sometimes is mixed up with mental health. People then say, oh, no, they're mad. I won't take them on. But we don't know that person could have had dementia. There's lots of people I know and remember growing up in the Caribbean and now thinking back, I say, oh my God, that person might have had dementia. But there was never a terminology. We all labeled them as difficult or mad or, yeah.
Well,
so,
in Jamaica, they call it senile.
Well, we no longer use that word.
Yeah, different places.
Yeah, but it is,
yeah. One, I know that there are various things that might cause dementia. But don't you think in this country is the stress?
Yeah.
Is the stress most of all?
Yeah. I would agree with you. I think not just dementia. I think if we look at all the conditions we talk about, particularly Afro-Caribbean people like ourselves, we have more high blood pressure, we have more diabetes, and I think you're right, it is stress. And I talked about stress, and I think, I think sometimes as a people, we don't talk enough. So what we do is we bottled everything up, and we think that's okay. But after a while, if you're not reflecting and having open and honest conversations with each other, that sometimes over a while comes at a cost because we're carrying it. It doesn't mean, Yes. 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 I agree. Yeah. 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 I agree. Yeah. I mean, they talk also about loneliness. You know, and that's what you're saying. If you don't have a community, you're sitting isolated and lonely, then yes, after a while, you know, you could have your cognitive function could be affected. And you're right, in the Caribbean, it's just a different place. Plus, we get natural vitamin D. You know, you get sun. We don't get vitamin D here, which means everybody's got to take vitamin D tablet. So you're taking a tablet to get something that you get naturally. And not that people in the Caribbean don't have stress, but they deal with it differently because vitamin D helps your brain. So how you internalize stuff, they just let it go. But because it's harder for us to do that here. So.
Yeah, if I leave my house, and I go to Sainsbury's, Tesco, and I go for milk, right?
1 minute, please. Please update. It is being live streamed. Please use the mic.
Carrier.
If you leave your house and you're going to Sainsbury's, you say you're going for some milk, but then you get to Sainsbury's and you fill a basket, you get to your house, there is no milk. Is that a form of dementia?
No, you've forgotten the milk.
Or you fill your basket with other stuff, but you leave the milk?
No.
Oh, well, good. Thank God, because I haven't got dementia.
That's why I said to you, it's got to be a significant. Now, if you say to me, you go to Sainsbury's for the milk, and then if you say you go to Sainsbury's for the milk, and then when you get to Sainsbury's, you got the milk, and then you forget where you live, that would worry me. Not you forgetting the milk. Did you want to?
Okay, my question is, do you think there's a high level of stigmatization about dementia like there is about other diseases like cancer? So when people and their relatives might be picking up some of the symptoms, they just don't want to accept it, they ignore it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think, and that's why I think it's important to come and have these sorts of conversations so that we know knowledge is power. So if you know, and you know someone, you can advise each other, you can have that conversation. So yes, I think there is. There's lots of stigma about lots of things, but dementia definitely, because it's linked with mental health when it isn't mental health.
You know what, I want to go back to what you said about sometimes, you know, back in the Caribbean, some people like they're mad and it's not really mad about dementia. And it just crossed my mind with my mom, you know, when she usually have a shower, she would tear up the clothes, you know, like she's hot. She was going through menopause, but she didn't know. Yeah. And I remember me and my sister were talking one time. She's in America, I'm here. And she said, Charmaine, you remember, you know, when Mama used to have her shower sometime 2 times, and she would come out and say she hot and start to tear off her clothes. She was going through menopause. So what I'm trying to say, you know, a lot of, you know, our older folks back home were going through this thing, didn't even know. Yeah. But, you know, it's good you travel, you learn. I come up here and I'm going through it, so I know I'm not getting mad. I'm going through my menopause.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. No more questions. Thank you. Oh,
okay. Finally, I've thought about one that I think might be sensible. We've talked about the symptoms and the signs and everything, but in general, we talk about the national health and beds being short and things like that. So when you get somebody that comes in who presents with these kind of symptoms and you diagnose them or whatever, I mean, do they get the proper care by being put in somewhere that can actually deal with their condition, or are they kept on a medical ward when it's not medical?
Well, I mean, I think 2 parts to answer that. First, you don't diagnose dementia in hospital. You diagnose it in community. So that's the first thing. So if you come into hospital with dementia, sometimes families will bring someone in and then they've decided that they can't cope because they probably would have been coping all the time. Then it depends on the social services to find placement for that person. It depends on where they sit, because some of that majority of the placement is means tested. So they're going to then look at your finances and see what you can contribute towards the care. That becomes sometimes very complex. So sometimes patient stays in hospital for a long time trying to get placement for them. And last time patient stayed 56 days in hospital, 90-something days in hospital, because as you say, you can't discharge them home because they're not safe. And you've got nowhere, which means you've got to find the best place for them. So they stay in hospital a long time. But we find once they stay in hospital, their cognition decrease because hospital is just not the right place. And sometimes they die before they get moved on. So they die in hospital. Yeah.
Okay. Can you have another session about menopause where we have more men in the congregation, because a lot of men do not understand the woman body when they're going through menopause. They do not understand what the woman is going through. So I don't mind if you would have another session on menopause where you have more men.
Yeah, I think menopause is a good conversation. Mental health and, dare I say the word, death and dying is a conversation that we should be having as well. Those are really important conversations, and we tend not to have them. So death and dying, so looking at where would be your preferred place of care, where would you want to be, what would you want. I talked before about making sure you have a will, make sure your family knows what you would want, rather than having to make a decision when you're not able to make it, and then your children don't know what you want. So people are pushing and pulling. So I think that's another conversation that we should have.
Yeah, my question is, I'm agreeing with my sister, with the men, but I think we need to do that in Sabbath school, because there you have more the men than AY. They don't come to AY. But we only have one man here, 2 men, and yeah, when to move. Okay, but yeah, so back to the question now. So, my question really is, on a serious note, if you keep repeating yourself, like I tell you something today, but I forget I told you. But maybe a couple of weeks after, I tell you again. And then I still forget I told you that time. And then sometime later, I telling you again. Is that, what do you call it? Is that an early sign or what do you call it? An early sign to dementia? Or is it?
I think if that worries you, if you see, sometimes it's about your gut feeling. And if you think that that is significant enough, then I think it's something you should go to your GP with. The symptoms for dementia is so interesting and wide that I can't stand and say, right, if you do this, this, and this. But I think if you pick up on something like that is not something you're used to doing, then I think it's worth checking it out. It's better you check something out and it's not that than you sit and ignore it. So if even you go and check with your GP, that will be fine. But it is significant cognitive decline. So remembering, forgetting things that is your bread and butter, things that you shouldn't forget. That's the significance. Yeah. Yes.
You told us that the diagnosis is over a period of 18 to 2 years.
Yeah.
So can you give us a slight indication of what that entails?
So that's what I said. So in that time, they would have done a CT scan, they would do bloods, they would do a neurological examination, just check your hearing, those sorts of things. And what they do is a memory test. So they ask you a set of questions and see whether you can answer it. That's why it takes a long time, because when you come back, they do the same memory test again to see whether you've forgotten or whether you've remembered. So that's why you can't make the diagnosis very quickly. You have to do it over a period of time. Thank you, everyone. And more questions? Thank you so much for your time and for listening. I hope it was helpful. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Yes.
I just wanted to say on kind of a positive note about dementia that a lot of us were very scared of just the term. My dad was diagnosed with dementia, and when he died, we swear he doesn't have any dementia because he had it, but he still actually managed to navigate his life, going in and out, doing things. The only thing was we had to be careful with the cooker and leaving the gas on. But otherwise, a lot of us are scared about it, but there's so many different forms, as you said, and some of that you can manage your day-to-day life quite well.
Thank you.
Roxanne, thank you so very much for coming to us here today. I know there's so much more you could have done with your time, but we are really appreciative of it. And to the congregation, thank you for being so attentive. This Possibility Day 2025, I hope that you will leave and there is something you have learned or will go away and think on and act upon that you never thought of before. I would like to again introduce the team if they are here. We have Sister Sinclair, if you could stand, Sister Agnes, Sister Tandy, we have Sister June, Sister Jean, we have Linnell, and we have Lovetta. And our elder is Elder Clement. I don't know if he's here. It's a big teamwork. And Dawn, where's Dawn? Okay. Can you stand up, Dawn? Yeah, it is a big teamwork for us to do the work that we're doing in the church. And thanks for your cooperation in making it happen. Brother Montoot, there's so many people that aid us, Brother Greg and different people. So may God continue to bless you and keep you, and may you continue to shine your light, because that is what we are called into the world for, to make a difference as we go. And may our footprint be one that someone else can say, that one has impacted my life in a positive way. May God bless you and keep you. And we just close. Can you just stand? Maybe we just sing a song and then thing. Roxanne, want to say something? All right, when we finish. To God be the glory, great things he has done. So loved he the world that he gave us his Son, who heeded his life and atonement for sin, and hope and the life gave that all may go in. Praise the Lord, praise the Lord, let the earth hear his voice. Praise the Lord, let the people rejoice. Oh, come to the Father through Jesus the Son, and give him the glory, great things he has done. Amen. I'll pray, then Roxanne will want to say something. Father in heaven, we are so, so grateful that you have afforded us a day, July 12th, 2025, one that none of us will see again. We will not see this day. We will not see this group of people together. We will not see this activity that we have here. Lord, thank you that each day is unique. And what happened yesterday will not happen today. Lord, we praise you, we glorify you that despite of our ability, you have allowed us, Lord, to be able to, in some way, to serve you. Thank you, Father, for protection. And as we go forward into the new week, may your presence continue to be with us. May we have no accident or any hill befall us. Lord, continue to be our shepherd. And as we repeat together the 23rd Psalms, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Thank you, Jesus. Amen. Sister Roxanne?
No, I just wanted to say I brought some leaflets and books. I'll leave it in the back for you to take with you.